Today we're going to be building this jig that you can use in your shop to make perfect dados every time. They're clean, they're square, works really well. It's a really quick build, it's easy to build, uses minimal materials, and it works great. You take your jig, put it against your piece that you want to put dados in, take your piece that you want to make the dado for, tighten it down, take it out, create your dado, and you got a perfect dado every time. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our pieces, guys, and there's not much to cut. I need 3 2-inch strips of 3/4 inch MDF or wood if you're choosing to use wood, and then 2 5-inch strips of, did I say 3/4 inch MDF over here? This is 3/4 inch MDF, then 2 5-inch strips of 1/4 inch MDF. And that's all we need. So let's cut out those parts first. Alright, so next step, we're going to take one of our 2-inch thick 3/4 inch strips and we're going to cut it into 2 15-inch sections. I'm going to use my stop block here so I know I get 2 pieces that are the exact same length at 15 inches. Alright, 15, make my mark. Then I can take this baby after I move this crap out of the way. And line up my cut line. Slide in my stop block. Make my cut. Make my second cut. I want to ask, if you're enjoying this content, if you could consider liking the video, maybe dropping in a comment, subscribing to the channel. Your support means everything to a small channel like mine, and I really appreciate it. And as a way to say thank you, I'm selling the plans for this jig on my website. If you message plans in the comments section, I will send you a code that you can use on the website to get the plans for free. All right, this is literally all we need for pieces here. Okay, so next step is we're going to take one of our 2-inch thick strips, that's 3/4 inch, and we're going to attach it to the end of this piece of 1/4 inch plywood, trying to line it up so it fits perfectly. To do that, we're going to countersink some holes across here and use 1/2 inch number 7 screws and some wood glue to attach those pieces. One thing I forgot to mention, guys, is your screws near the ends. You want those at least 1.5 inches away from the ends. And that's because we're going to be adding something, a pass-through 1/4 inch 20 bolt is going to be added later on, and we need access to that space. So measure 1.5 inches away from the ends. And this step you don't really need to do, but I'm kind of OCD about this stuff, so I'm going to set my screws in 1 inch. I'll show you a close-up of this countersink bit I'm using. I picked it up at Home Depot. Nothing fancy about it. Just creating my countersunk holes. So grab yourself some clamps for this step. You're going to take your 1/4 inch piece and it's going to be screwed into your 3/4 inch piece like so, nice and flush. So get that all lined up. If you want, you can use your other 3/4 inch piece to kind of keep this where you need it while you're putting in your screws. And the clamps are so you get this piece where you want it. And you can clamp it down. And it's not going to move on you when you're putting in your screws. For this step, guys, we're gonna trim our guide rail here so it's the exact length from the edge of the router subplate to the edge of the bit. So an important step to point out here, I'm using a 1/4 inch bit, and whatever bit you choose has to be the dedicated bit you use for this particular jig. And the reason is because this distance here is going to be the distance between the edge of the router subplate and the edge of your bit. So if say you choose a 3/4 inch bit, the edge of the bit's going to be a little bit further out because it's a bigger bit. So this jig would no longer work. You'd have to make a separate jig for it. So just choose whatever size bit you want to use. I'm using a 1/4 inch bit because I can make dados as small as a 1/4 inch. And then if I want to make bigger ones, I can just widen my dado a little bit and clean out that material. But if I use a 3/4 inch bit, I can't go down to a 1/4 inch bit. That'll make more sense when I show you some demonstration videos. So for this step, we're going to clamp our piece to the table. You may want to throw a waste piece under here so you don't dig into your table. I could care less about this table, so I'm not going to bother. One more important step I wanted to talk about here, and that is your router, in this case I'm using my trim router, is not necessarily going to be the exact same distance from this edge to the side and this edge to the side, because chances are it's just not perfectly centered. So because of that, whatever side you line up your router to make the left side of your jig, you need to mark it so that you know when you go to cut your dado, you're going in the same direction as when you made the jig. That way you know the distance is the same. So this next step, we're going to take our two 15-inch long pieces that we cut, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a track to allow our 1/4 20 knobs to slide through. So what we need to do is first make a 1/4 inch hole all the way through this material so that bolt can pass through, and then we're going to create a slightly wider 1/2 inch deep channel that's going to allow our wing nut in, but not allow it enough space to turn so that we can tighten it. And I'll show you what I mean when we get to that step. But first thing we're going to do is take one of these pieces and measure 5.75 inches from the end. And then from the opposite end, we're going to measure 2 inches. And we're going to mark our pieces. I'm going to use this center finder jig to find the center of my piece and mark it. And I'm just going to carry that line over the edge as well to make this process easier. And I'm going to line up my fence with that line. And again, we don't need to get crazy here. We want it to be approximately center, but don't need to go nuts. Make sure your fence is square, lock it down, and then create your groove. I love this part. So now you're going to take a 3/4 inch straight cut bit and you're going to mark a groove a 1/2 inch deep that's a little bit wider. And again, that's to allow your wing nut to go in, but not allow it to turn so you can tighten your bolt. Going to take my combination square, set it to a 1/2 inch. I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch down on this board. All right, and use that to set the height of the bit. Now what we want to do is take our 15-inch pieces and secure them to our fences. So for this step, you want to make sure first that you're oriented correctly. So the side that measured 5 3/4 inches is going to go on this side. This side is the 2-inch side, and it's also going to be the side where the adjustable part of the fence goes. So important on this step, we want to make sure that this piece is 90 degrees to this piece, because this is what you're going to use to square your piece, square your jig up to the workpiece. So take some extra time and make sure when you secure it down that you're squaring it up. For fasteners, I'm going to use 4 1/2 inch number 7 screws here, and then 2 1.5 inch number 7 screws here. Now we're going to go on the opposite side and secure this piece as well. It's less important that this side is square, but you want to at least try to make it square. All right, so fun fact, I installed these upside down. That's great. So you want this 1/2 inch deep track for the wing nut to be on the bottom. So I'm going to have to take these screws off, flip it over, and reinstall it. So now that we have our frame set up, what we need to do is add some holes to this piece for our 1/4-20 knobs. And to do that, we need to mark the ends of our boards centered and 1 inch up. Then we're going to take a 3/4 inch Forstner bit and install that into our drill press. Now I'm going to make a mark on my board that's a 1/2 inch down. And I'm going to use that line to set the depth of cut to a 1/2 inch on my drill press. Now I can take that 3/4 inch Forstner bit out and load up a 1/4 inch brad point bit and drill a hole all the way through in the middle of that 3/4 inch hole I just drew. Now I can take my washer, plop it in. I can take my 1/4-20 knob, plop that in like so. And now that that knob's poking through, I can take the bolt that's sticking through, put it into the track, flip this whole sucker over, wing nut, and thread your bolt onto it. Flip her back over and then repeat on the other side. And that's it, your jig is complete. So now we can test this baby. So you can see it slides. You can put a piece of wood in. Let's say we want to do a dado on this 3/4 inch MDF. Slide the jig, clamp it, and then we create our dado, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do is put a 1/4 inch deep dado, the thickness of this piece of MDF, into this piece of MDF, and all I need is my jig, my trim router, and a couple of clamps. So the first thing we're going to do is take our piece that's going to have the dado going into it. And we're going to put our jig on it. And it's going to be nice and square because of this piece we put on already. Then I'm going to take my clamps And I'm going to clamp it down here. And then just to be safe, I'll clamp it down here too. Actually, scratch that. I'm going to put the clamp down here. All right. The other thing to do would be to clamp down your actual workpiece so it doesn't go anywhere. So now that you have this clamped, you take your piece that you want to create the dado for, loosen up your knobs so the track slides, slide it into place, lock it down, and you can remove that piece, and now you're going to create your dado. You can see that is a pretty nice fit. And if we check for square, bang, nice and square. That wraps up this video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video next on how I built a scrap wood organization bin in my shop.